12 o'clock. Okay. Like to like to call the regular meeting of Cobre Board of Education into session. It is 5 o'clock. Please let the minutes show that Mr. Cordova is not here. He was on his way to Globe. He said he might be able to join us by phone if he was in an area where he could talk to us, but I don't know. Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of
of the
America
United
and to the republic
States of America and to the republic for which
nation
it stands,
under God,
one nation,
indivisible,
under
with
God,
liberty and justice for
indivisible,
all.
with liberty and justice for all.
I salute the flag, the state of
The
New
flag
Mexico,
of the state of New Mexico, the Zia symbol of
the Zia
perfect friendship
symbol of
among united
perfect friendship among united cultures.
among united cultures.
Entertain a motion for approval of agenda items.
Gomez, so moved.
Motion by Mr. Gomez. Second.
This is Gabe, second.
Second by Mr.
This is
Holguin.
Gabe, I second it.
Second by Mr. Holguin. Any corrections to the agenda? Call the vote. Mr. Holguin.
Yes.
Mr. Guadiana. Mr. Guadiana. Can't hear you. Myself, yes. Mr. Gomez.
Yes.
Go back to Mr. Guadiana.
He's having connectivity issues. I think he'll get on right now. 1 second.
We'll come back to him in just a minute then. Entertain a motion for approval of the minutes of July 27th.
Gomez, I make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Gomez, second.
This is Gabe, I second it.
Second by Mr. Holguin. Take a roll call vote. Mr. Holguin.
Yes.
Mr. Gomez.
Yes.
Just a minute. Mr. Guadiana's calling me. Hello? I don't know. Mr. Arambula was trying to get you back on. I don't know what happened. I could see you, but I couldn't hear you. Okay. Okay. I'll let him know. Yeah. Victor, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, he said he's trying to get on, but he's logging on his son's computer, which is Elias. So see if he can. I don't know, but that was him calling me on the phone. He's trying to get back in.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, moving on. We had a motion and a second for approval of the agenda item for July 27th. April, Mr. Holguin,
Yes.
Mr. Gomez,
Yes.
myself, yes. We'll get back to Mr. Guadiana as soon as he comes on. Okay. Is he on yet, Victor?
Yes, he's joining now.
Hello.
Okay.
There he is.
Are you there now?
Yep.
Okay. We had gone through approval of agenda items. How do you vote on that?
I voted yes.
Okay, motion carries. And we had voted on the minutes of July 27th.
I vote yes too.
Okay, motion carries on that. Now we're on update of unfinished business.
Okay.
Item A,
Item A, update on school openings and preparation. I would like to ask Jose and Joyce to give the board and the public an update on how school opening and preparation has gone as far as today.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent Mendoza, and the public. Schools reopened virtually on August the 3rd, where teachers have been making contact with students and parents. I think that about anywhere between 90 and 100% of the students have been contacted, or parents, depending on the school. They've been communicating information regarding online teaching and learning, virtual academy, and hybrid learning. They've been going over individual schedules. They've been identifying individual needs. The district last week also hosted 2 parent meetings regarding the school reentry, where we had 71 and 67 attendees. 71 the first day, 67 the second day. Most questions were related to the virtual academy Edgenuity. Currently, the district that is reviewing those numbers and wanting those numbers of the parents who want online academy. However, the district right now wants all students on remote learning with homeschool teacher at this time. We will hopefully start once the face-to-face begins, then the remote virtual academy will begin. Chromebook status, HP representative stated that mid-August, so it could be any day or possibly next week when we receive those Chromebooks. Canvas, that's the PED learning information system. That should be implemented within 2 to 6 weeks. I think with that, it'll be probably sooner than that. Discovery Education, this is the program that the STEAM or STEM program that was acquired through Phelps Dodge, Freeport McMoran, and it's a computerized program that integrates math and literacy into the sciences, and it's up and running. Most schools went live today in regards to teaching, and we had anywhere between 60 and 70% attendance. A lot of that has to do with students not having the devices ready. So we have a few that cannot be online due to devices or sharing of the phone or whatever device they have at home. All students need to have a device. And then in regards to teaching from school, most staff prefer to teach from school, and that was about 70%. The remote learning plan was approved by PED. The pre-K remote learning plan was submitted last week and is awaiting approval. I'm going to yield to Mrs. Varela so she can talk about the PPE, and then we'll stand for questions.
Thank you, Dr. Carrillo. Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Mendoza, and community. One more thing I want to add to that is we have been getting lists from principals of addresses of students who have dead zones and no internet connections. And so we are working with WNM Communications. I sent them a list last week and heard back from them today. They were out in the community today trying to see if we can put hotspots into those dead zones. When we look at PPE, we have received and passed out wipes, face masks, gowns, thermometers. I received an email that the hand sanitizer and the gloves have shipped, so we're expecting those. Danielle Aguirre and the nurses have taken the lead in creating signage to put around the schools, and so most of the signage has been put up around all the schools. The one thing that we're waiting on is we did order some vinyl so that we can be able to do the floor signage using the vinyl so that we can help protect the floors. And IT, the technology department and the nurses will be working on those and getting those up as soon as we get the vinyl and those are created. That's all I have. Unless there's any questions for either Dr. Carrillo or myself.
Josh?
I have questions. I've got a lot of calls that about teachers being concerned that they were added to, they were brought to the table very late in the session and found that their input was basically going against, they felt was going against a decision that had already been made. I'm glad to see that there was some reconsideration about not making it mandatory that classes, well, the teachers be there in the classroom. I'm surprised that 70% prefer to be in the classroom, but I'm glad to see that the teachers are getting the option not to go. It doesn't seem to serve a purpose. It does seem to create an exposure that may not be necessary. But the other part too is that some of the teachers were very concerned about daycare. And daycare is something that they have to plan for, and around here, the options are very few. One of the reasons I really didn't support the 4-day schedule was the burden that it places on the families, mainly, especially the grandparents. And there's so many people now that are being taken care of just by family members. Fortunately, a lot of them aren't working, and that is more viable. But still, when we talk about exposing people, I would hope it would be at a very needed for a very needed basis. And for months, they taught from home, and that didn't seem to be problematic. I'm glad to see that they're getting that option. But I'm also not, the presentation, the way it came out today, seemed like everything went well. And the reality was, from the phone calls that I got, and also from the calendar, from my supposition that the calendar has August 3rd through August 6th being counted as academic days. Is that correct? You're muted.
Dr. Carrillo, you're muted.
I don't know if I was muted from somewhere else, maybe Victor. But anyways, I was gonna say, yes, they count as academic days because we, as a district, have that latitude for home visits throughout the different grade levels. And one of the things that also is counted is anytime you have parent engagement and preparing for the virtual learning, that is also counted. So to answer your question, Mr. Guadiana, those schools started on the 3rd, and they're being counted. We go above and beyond the 1080 hours and the 990 hours required by the state.
The hours, I would want to dig in further because there were no classes of any instruction given at any time throughout that period. The other stuff you're talking about is preparation related. I would research as to whether those days should count. And I would take exception to us counting them. No kid was in school, either virtually or physically. No instruction was given. And even today, it was like half of the classes were actually ready. iStation wasn't ready. Some of the classes otherwise weren't ready. But I would count these more readily than I would have counted last week's. So just to make a point that I believe that what was being presented doesn't represent the reality that teachers and or parents and or students went through. Today, my daughter was still very panicked because she was unfamiliar with so much of the logging in and the passwords, and so many of the arrangements weren't made until the very last minute. So from a perspective of somebody that's not in administration, I want to bring that forward, that there's concerns about the rollout.
And Mr. Guadiana, as a district, we talked to administrators and we had a 2-week window where we knew, because this is the first time that, this is new to everybody, and to adjust and to try to make contact with all parents and to try to get everything ready. It's going to take about 2 weeks to adjust. We're not there yet. And hopefully by next week, everything's going to be ready and adjusted. We knew this going in, and most districts are going through similar situations because this is all new to us. And trying to find all the kids, we're still trying to locate about 10% of our kids. So again, a lot of it is ongoing, and hopefully within by next week we should have at least 98 to 99% attendance.
I hope so as well. And I understand the computers being a big barrier for us to go through, but I would hope that we'd look at options, even if we can address some part of it by going to something of a purchase from another vendor for a small amount of computers, if it is that we're finding that our vendor isn't going to meet the needs. It's unfair to have school days counted for students that can't participate.
One of the other things that has been happening is, for example, Hurley rolled out a 2-week lesson plan for students, knowing that they weren't going to be live until 2 weeks, yet they're still doing some instruction at home. So packets have been going out. There's been a lot of different ways that instruction has been delivered, trying to adjust, because we knew that we wouldn't have all the computers ready because we don't have them. So we've also been looking at other vendors to try to purchase a small amount. Mr. Arambura has been calling, and every time he calls different vendors, they say that they do have them, and then he asks for the inventory, and they haven't been getting back to him. So So we are making efforts to look at other possibilities, at least for those parents that have multiple children at right now. So the district is looking into it.
I, I'm very pleased to hear that Hurley is doing paperwork that can be sent to school to address that. But I'm really curious, is that the only school that's doing it and not the others?
No. All the schools, I used Hurley because I was speaking with Mrs. Martinez this afternoon, and that was one of the things that we discussed. All schools were handing out paperwork packets.
And how is that? Were the parents coming in to pick up those?
Yeah, they had schedules. They set up different schedules.
For curbside pickup.
Thank
And
you.
there other schools are continuing this week. I know Central has a schedule that they've set up this week. Bayard said they handed theirs out last week. I know the high school had students scheduled to come in last week by grade level so they could pick up their books and all the materials. So it's been ongoing last week and continuing this week with additional materials that parents are picking up for their students.
Can you put it at least in context as far as the gravity? How many students don't have computers?
So if we look at what we've given out 256. So we gave them to families. So how many students actually have their own devices? Mr. Guadiana, I can't give you an exact number. I know when we did the survey at the beginning, we had about a third of the responses who did not have devices at that time.
But we were able to provide at least one device to each family that did not have a device. Now, where the problem comes is that when we have multiple children in one family and trying to buy for one device, or maybe two if they're using their parents' phone for right now. But when we went into shutdown in April, in March, we were able to purchase 220 devices, and they were handed to every family that was identified not having a device.
And those identifications came from teachers making contact with parents, giving that list to the principals. The principals then gave that list to us, and that's how we made the determination of who was going to be getting a device. So when we gave the devices out in March, it was based on the parents at that time who had let the principals know that they didn't have a device. Since then, we have had other families who have let us know that they don't have a device. But again, we've given out everything that we have to date. So with the 256 devices that we gave out in the spring, that was impacting over 400 kids when you look at the siblings that also had access to that same device. And of course, the instruction was different. The expectations were different in the spring as they are now. So it is a little more difficult now to have multiple family members sharing the one device.
Yeah, the classes run concurrently, so
Yes.
it's
And instructional hours are more now than what they were in the spring.
How many computers do we have ordered that we're expecting to come in?
1,000. We ordered 800 of the non-touch devices and 200. We ordered the touch devices for pre-K, for the daycare for 3Y, 4Y, and kindergarten. We ordered them the touch devices. So when we contacted, we've been in communication with the company that we ordered them from. And as we stated in the last board meeting, there is a big shipment expected to come in. And because we ordered our devices since the spring, we are at the top of the list to receive the devices. The company that we're working with, in addition to Mr. Arambula, they have been reaching out to other companies to try to get devices from them. But as Dr. Carrillo said, is we get emails from all these companies that say we have them in stock. And so when we actually make contact with them and and get more information from them, they actually don't have them in stock. They're using that to promote their company, but they don't really have them in stock. We put the pressure on them for delivering them, at ASAP. They're not able to do so because they don't have them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Moving on to
Any other?
item B. Go ahead. You have something else, Mr. Carrillo?
No, I was just gonna clarify if there wasn't any other questions.
Item B.
Yes, sir, update on student transportation. Mr. President, members of the board, at this time, I'd like to go ahead and hold off on this student transportation simply because this one is not taking place until hopefully next week, when we're going to be bringing kids in on a 1-on-5 or a 1-on-1 as needed. And this would involve Melissa with her ancillary staff and at-risk staff. And of course, George would have an exact routes and transportation and things. So this will be coming back to you at the next board meeting with a more of a concrete information as it's building. And that's all I can produce right now, sir.
Okay.
We
Thank
can
you.
move on to C.
Item C.
Item C. Yes, sir, that's Lieutenant Governor Howie Morales' letter, in which he addresses our chief Wahoo logo that's currently on the baseball field and currently on a lot of our athletic uniforms or baseball caps. And it's all over that. So at this point, what I'd like to do is, with the permission of the board, is go ahead and include Section D Snell Middle School mascot and discuss it as a joint concern that we have of action that needs to be taken. And let's discuss these two at this point, unless a board member objects. I'd like to now ask Mr. Avalos. I see you're on. And can you just share with us what you have so far?
Thank you, Mr. Board President, members of the board, Mr. Mendoza, and the public in attendance. Thank you for this time. Of course, Nelson Diaz and myself have been working on this, just trying to see what path we need to take as far as with board action and also gathering of information and any input. We did reach out to Mr. Amador, Dr. Amador, who had compiled and put together his group a survey, and he did forward the information, the results of that, which resulted in about 176 respondents. And of course, there's also been a petition that's been circulated by, I would guess, a similar group, but they've also have gone out and tried to get some signatures just to defend their case as well. That one is still yet under review because it was just freshly brought in. The one with Mr. Amador, Dr. Amador, indicated that the really the results showed about a 2 percentage point difference of being in favor and being against removing the chief logo. So that really, looking at that, it was pretty close to being 50-50 that they wanted to maintain either or. And those respondents in that field showed that there wasn't really a big difference. The petition situation, we still need to further review those responses, and move on from there to make a decision on how we're going to handle it. Obviously, it's at the discretion of the board and what they want to do. We're just here to try to gather information, gather inputs, and then move forward and make a decision. And then if we need to assemble, especially on the Redskin side, we're going to have to replace it. We're going to have to see maybe some alternative things that we can research and or just poll to see if we can come up with maybe a couple of viable instances that we'll be able to put out maybe for a vote and determine if we can substitute Redskin one, and the chief, who again, that's all determined. That, there's a lot in place there that can replace that. There's, currently Cobre has a number of logos that are in use, and obviously there's some suitable alternatives there. It's just a matter of again, through either the school board or through Mr. Diaz as athletic director, if they are going to decide if they're going to have one or be based on approval from this point forward. Obviously, if we do make changes, it's going to require a consideration of uniforms and or even signage throughout the district. And we'll have to actually look at that and see if we can put a time frame in place of when we can get that done. Is if it's going to be done immediately, especially when it comes to replacing logos on uniforms. It's going to go into a time of having to put out some additional funds to replace those uniforms, and as you know, we're hard pressed at this point, just trying to reallocate our funds to take care of some of the needs that are going on with the onset of this COVID situation. So again, we're waiting for guidance. The information, we have some information, and we just need to see how we're going to move forward. Mr. Diaz, I yield to you.
Yes, so there was some data collected with the help of Maureen Peru on social media posts. There really isn't a clear delineation between A or nay. It seems pretty even at this point. Obviously, that's not everybody. Not everybody in the community has taken to social media to post their opinions. Mr. Avalos is correct. There is going to be some time in between there that it will take us some time to replace some uniforms, do some signage, and there's a cost to that. We are looking at possibly over a period of 2 to 3 seasons that might take place. Like Mr. Avalos was suggesting, we are yielding to you at this time, and we are looking for direction, and we will move forward with the board's direction.
Thank you. Mr. Mendoza?
Yeah, in reference to Mr. Avalos, you were referring to, is it Adan that sent that survey?
Mr. Amador, yes, sir.
I'm sorry. Yes, sir, Amador.
Mr. Amador.
I reviewed it this afternoon, and there is a 2-point, possibly a 3-point difference. But the 3-point, between the 2-point, and it's a 3-point difference, the difference of the people in favor of removing the Wahoo emblem that's here in this field. And I thought I heard you say the difference differently. Is that correct?
Yeah, it skews a little bit in favor of holding on to it, but again, it's within a 3-point difference. And of course, you look at the amount of people that responded in that survey. There was about 100 and I think it was 178 that responded, and I understand the petition has a lot more signatures. So we really need to look at those and determine which direction we need to go. Obviously, the decision is based on board recommendation and approval, either yay or nay. Then we, obviously, hopefully we will be able to provide some additional information. There's been a lot of letters to the editor, been coming out here of late, different viewpoints. But we have to take all that into consideration and just make a general decision through the school board.
I have a receipt here, and I can just show you a couple of letters. One from Luis Quinones, who's a former athlete, a graduate of Cobre High School, in favor of removing it because he says many years this has been going on, and a lot of people opposing it. And also, of course, the letter from Howie Morales. And we have different people calling us.
Can I ask if you have? Excuse me, I'm sorry. Can I ask if you have received a letter from the Chiricahua Apache Nation?
Yes, sir.
Who's this talking?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is Joe Sines. I represent the Chiricahua Apache Nation.
Yes, sir, I have it here, and I've read it, and this is in favor of removing the chief Wahoo and with the other Indian.
Yes, yes, we're in favor of removing any of the racist images that are being used. It seems to me that if you have a 50%, it seems to me that if you have a 50% request of removing this image, which has been a problem for a long time, to me that seems to be quite a bit. That seems to be quite a request to remove it. So I just wanted to add that in and make sure that our letter got in. We represent the Native people in this region and from this area, historically and contemporary. And I hope you do please consider that letter seriously. Thank you.
Yes, sir, I thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
I also submitted my letter to Francis Gonzalez, along with the Chiricahua part of the Warm Springs Apache. I submitted my letter as well.
Ms. Gonzalez, I have your letter in hand, and I've read it, and I thank you for submitting it. And I'd like for you want to talk about it real quick?
Sure. One of the things that I brought up about was being from here and having been and raised, you know, a lot of the folks that we're actually raised with and things of that sort don't realize that a lot of us are either dual culture, or a lot of us did practice our Apache culture. And those things that do come out, as Dr. Mendoza was saying, one of the things that I did bring out in the letter, I was really clear on the offensive gestures that are done at some of our games, at the drumming with the spear, the riding in on the horse, what a lot of that really means. I also spoke about the cartoon character and how it's demeaning towards us, because what it does as a culture is it demeans us, makes people laugh at us. And then what happens is that, you know, it dehumanizes us, and they see us as something that they can laugh at, be violent towards, or they just don't be seen, don't be heard. So, and then when Dr. Amador put out the survey, you know what's real interesting, as I put in my letter real quickly here, is the surveys and the articles that come out, not once did they ask you know, our tribal chair Joe Sines. They didn't ask myself and some others that the community does know that we are involved, to be part of that survey. So there wasn't anyone taken from the Native American point of view from here.
Right.
One of the points of view that did come out was made very political, as I also put in my letter too, towards our Lieutenant Governor on Saturday, from Karen Bedoni, who is Dene. Which is Navajo from Indian country up north. She's not from here. A mistake made was that she said, well, when the Apaches lived here, no, we are still here. We didn't leave. That's one clarification. The second one is, you know, the lieutenant governors from here, we need to have some respect for that. Third, our Cobre school history, and a lot of us knowing what our history has been, you know, it's time, as I told in my letter, and as Mr. Mendoza did point out, it's a cultural change that needs to happen at this point. The right thing needs to happen. And one of the things that is really clear is how much we're going around in circles on this, but the most important people that you didn't ask was us from our tribal community. And that's one of the things that I did talk to the chair about, to Toy Sepulveda. I talked to him, I talked to Mr. Guadiana, I called Gabe Olguin yesterday, and I've talked to several of our folks, our Chiricahua Nation's getting involved. If this continues to go on, more of our tribal folks are gonna get on board. And I really don't want to see that happen for our Cobre schools. I want us to do the right thing. We've always done the right thing. I grew up with all of you. I've known Irene since I was a little girl. Toy is one of the loves of my life. So is Gilbert. Pat, we played ball. I played softball. You played baseball. We all knew each other. And the thing is that I just want us to do what's right for our community. Because don't think that just because now it's happening to us Indios, that it's not going to happen to more of our folks on other ends on different things that happen. And we all need to come and support each other, period. It's racist. It's dehumanizing. It's hurtful. And for people to carry on with that, the proud name of the Cobre Indians comes from a lot of us being from the Pacheria with the Cobre that was found, the Cobre that was found in the mine by our people. And it's a proud name. So let's keep it proud and let's change those two things with a Redskin name because of the awful context that it has. The Tomachak hop that we use. The Tomachak chop, sorry. I hate that word. I always get it all mixed up. With the whole thing that happens with it at the games, the things that it entails and what it really means. The things that have been done to us, the things that are still being done to us. And don't think because we're urban Indians that things don't happen to us too, because we still get orders from the BIA and different things that happen. So just letting you know, there's a lot that goes on, and a lot of the Native community may be quiet, a little bit quiet right now, but it's not going to stay quiet for long. And I really, really want us in the Cobre schools, especially being from the mining district, the history we have, do the right thing. That's all I have to say. Thank you, Dr. Mendoza. Thank you, Toy and Gilbert.
This is Mr. Diaz, the athletic director. I would, as the athletic director, I would recommend the removal of Chief Wahoo.
If I may, also add, I know we're moving forward and we have to make a decision. But I'm very glad that Mr. Sines joined us here tonight, because that's a direct link that we need to have to really research this and to take an opportunity if we are going to continue down with Indians and or any kind of logos or anything that goes along with that. Of course, we take great pride in that here in our community, being a native Cobre person. We need to get that input, and that way when we do make a decision, if we have to change logos, I really would hope that Mr. Sines and his community would be part of it, just kind of allow us to make a proper, an appropriate type of decision to continue either the logo or something that will fit the bill and work to represent our culture, represent our school as we have so many years in a prideful way. And please, join in with us at that time when we decide to go further with it. Thank you.
Yes, this is Jeff.
Thank you, Pat. I that.
Sorry, I just wanted to verify that yes, as soon as we get word, we'd be glad to join any discussions regarding this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sines. Mendoza.
Yeah, Mr. President, members of the board, is there any more discussion from the board members?
Yes. If somebody else wants to go first, that's fine.
You can go, Gilbert. I have some input as well, but I'll wait.
Okay. I want to start off with a little bit of disappointment, surprise, that the information gathered didn't seek out Native Americans. It's one thing to have a consensus of a community agreeing on a symbol and not hear about the impact that it has on that particular the particular image that's being portrayed. The newspaper today has a really interesting article, and it's of Karen, however you pronounce the last name, and Francis mentioned her. There's a picture. Let me see if I can show it here. It's real ironic that here she is making this stance about
Karen Badoni.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. Anyway,
Yes,
if you look at
yes,
the
yes.
caricature, it almost makes fun of her. It's almost demeaning for her to be standing by it, and it makes her less credible. But I think she's taken Lieutenant Governor. Lieutenant Governor's position as way out of context. He only wants to change the image, take down the comical image and use the other image we already identified as being an appropriate image, and that one of the chief in a headdress. And there is no, and I've been to Lieutenant Governor Morales's office, and he's very proud of being Cobre Indian, and he displays that very much so in his office. So the context of which a lot of people see it, and in this person says it's going to go further. We're going to, get further. His letter simply was to take down the images of Chief Wahoo, which are not a great cost to take them down. As a matter of fact, that one that's showing on the newspaper is falling down. Maybe replacing it would be a cost, and that can be done over time. But certainly taking off the offensive one should not be even a question. It doesn't require much. The term redskin, again, this lady makes a reference to it, and the pride of being red, I can very much agree with her. But the term was used in very detrimental terms when Dr. Counts made a presentation when they recognized Fort Bayard being a historical landmark. He talked about Redskins that were murderous and would kill women, children, and they were evil, basically. And it was such a dark reference that to see it as simply Redskins as being used in the professional sports, as was the Chief Wahoo. Its time has come to an end. And I think as board members, we should represent the decency, and whether it's a consensus to continue to belittle Native Americans shouldn't be the vote that we should take. The vote should be that we would go against a consensus that does belittle a race, a very proud race, to which we are named after. And furthermore, there's a lot more that needs to be done. This is just symbolism. We need to, and I spoke to Lieutenant Governor Morales about the impact that Indians are actually facing here in New Mexico. They continue to face terrible conditions, living conditions, no water, no really viable health care, having to drive miles and miles and miles to a grocery store. And this in the pandemic has made their situations completely unfathomable. To continue to belittle the needs of these people is insane. And in the Cobre School District, we are benefactors from that oppression. The Yazzie Martinez court order requires state to do better funding of the schools on the reservations. And as school districts, we have benefited from the money that's taken away from them and given to the rest of us. And we should be standing forward saying, we're all people in this earth together. And to just continue this treatment of Native Americans is absurd. And lastly, we continue to perpetuate this image by not showing the truth in our schools. We don't teach about what happened to the Native Americans here, nor the African Americans, and nor the Chinese and the Japanese. But yet we'll teach things about the Holocaust, And the Holocaust was a horrible thing, and people should know about it, and we should teach it. But why is it that we can so easily point the fingers at another nation when we don't have the strength to look at ourselves, and we continue to perpetuate the distinction and the dual systems of living? This is a good opportunity for us to make a stand, and it's a good opportunity for Lieutenant Governor Morales to take the lead and help make the substantive changes, not just the figurative changes.
Can I step in here just a little bit? I apologize. I would also like to remind everybody that the Apaches, being the original inhabitants here, we were chased out of here. We were, a lot of us, or the people that somehow were able to remain here, hidden, or however they made it to be here, but our families of our groups were run out of here from the 1850s to the 1870s. There are a lot of Apaches that have come back. There is 3 major Apache organizations in the area now. You cannot forget that. We have come back. And so we are here to try to cooperate. We are here to contribute. We are here to help the community. But we have to remember that how you greet us, how you invite us back into our home area is very important. And the magnitude of our involvement here and our return here is going to be more impactful as time goes on. We're bringing the powwow back. We are setting up hopefully setting up a headquarters at Fort Bayard. The powwow will be at Fort Bayard. And so that there is a lot that we are poised to contribute and help and move this community forward. But we need your cooperation, and we need to know that our presence is appreciated and that we are not being ridiculed, that we don't drive around and see signs of misrepresented Indians that have no place here, headdresses, miniskirt breechcloths. You know, that type of style does not belong here. And you have to educate yourselves as adults and for the schools of what is the true culture of who was here and who has come back. And so we hope that cooperation will go both ways. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mendoza?
Yes,
Well, I think we got one more call there. We don't have another call? Okay,
I don't see
Mr.
it.
Mendoza. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. President, members of the board, with the public input and administrations and everyone, I thank you for putting this over. So the administration at this point is recommending that the Chief Wahoo logo and the drawings that are around the district be removed immediately. The administration further recommends that Snell Middle School mascot, Redskins, be removed and that Mr. Avalos be appointed to help our district and our community to come up with a proper name or a proper logo for Snell Middle School. And that can take the next couple of months, Mr. Avalos, and then survey the appropriate people. We will take care of internally the tomahawk quest, okay? I will work with Ms. Montoya. That's a superintendent can direct that. It's a curriculum issue. And then we'll have, if Mr. Avalos, you can report back to the board at the next board meeting and see what else you've come up with in terms of when you work with your kids and the parents in terms of the naming of a new logo for for Snell Middle School. Okay, that's
Mr.
my
Mendoza,
recommendation.
Mr. Mendoza, this is Sandra Montoya, the principal at Cobre High School. I do want to inform you and the board that we have met with Mr. Gearhart. We have Mr. Begay as well on our staff, and we have met with him, and he has explained some of his feelings, and we have agreed to take out those items as well from our band and our issues, so that won't be a problem at the high school.
Thank you, Ms. Montoya. That was what we were going to discuss.
Also, Mr. Mendoza, if I can just mention something really quick also is we were just waiting to see what direction we go, because one of the things is we have it also like on our bus and stuff like that. We have tomahawks and stuff on our buses, the new bus that we just purchased. The stuff at the baseball field, we already have a plan in place. If the board goes that direction, what we'll do is we already went and measured, Johnny Perez and myself went and measured, and we can set up everything a little bit differently with the Cobre, with the spear, or something just different, whatever we decide to do. And we can design some things because we can cut them out of metal and replace them. So, I mean, whichever direction we go, we have a plan either way on what we need to do. So, just once we get the direction, we will do what we need to. The bus will have to go up north to get some body work done anyways. And so we're looking at, I had already told them that we would possibly need to be taking those off if there was something else they could replace it with. And they said, yes, they would be able to take that off and resand and then repaint something on there.
To follow up on that, George, and members of the board.
Okay, Mr. Peru,
yes, sir.
Mr. Mendoza, I just wanted to say one thing. If this recommendation passes, Mr. Avalos, which Mr. Mendoza said that he would be in charge of coming up with this stuff. So if this motion passes,
yes, sir.
You need to get with Mr. Avalos.
Yes, sir. I will be doing that.
Okay.
And just a reminder, Mr. Peru, please review our marquees, a brand new marquees, and I know that we'd have to address. I think the high school has something on it, and I know, Pat, yours has Redskins written on it. We need to paint over that. So
yes, the one at Snell has Redskins on the top and on the bottom.
yes, sir. We'll take care of all that. And
yes.
I appreciate the administration's cooperation on this. And that's the superintendent's recommendation at this point, Mr. Sepulveda.
Okay. You heard the recommendation. Do I hear a motion?
This is Gabe. So moved.
I'll second. This is Gilbert.
Okay. Motion was made by Mr. Holguin, second by Mr. Guadiana. Is that it? Call for the vote. Mr. Holguin.
Yes.
Mr. Guadiana. Mr. Guadiana?
Yes. Yes.
Myself, yes. Mr. Gomez?
Nay.
Okay. Let the minute show that the vote was 3-1. Motion passes. That moves us to public input. This time we'll entertain anything from the public that was in reference to our agenda.
Hey, Mr. Sepulveda, this is Gabe. I just had one comment.
Go ahead, Gabe.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I would like to see a methodical approach to, I know we put Mr. Avalos in charge, but I'd like to not be rushed in, coming up with whatever we're gonna do to replace the logo and whatnot. Just a methodical approach that includes lots of folks and lots of input, so that we come up with something that that everybody likes and enjoys.
Mr. Holguin, can you hear me? Mr. Holguin?
Yes, I have you.
Okay, Mr. Holguin, Mr. Avalos has been instructed that he's to bring that back to the board for a formal approval on everything that's going to be recommended, okay?
Yes, I understand that.
Thank you.
If I may, a couple of comments. Obviously, I take this very, very seriously. Obviously we have to make some recommendations, find out what we could possibly come up with, but also, in the long term, the way that things are, we really have to explore what possibilities that we have to, if we come back to the board on this in 5-10 years, that something again is inappropriate due to the change in the culture, in just social norms, whatever the case may be. So we really need, like as Mr. Holguin mentioned, we really need to do an in-depth look at this, bring in whatever parties can give us some positive and some constructive feedback, and that way we can make a decision that is long-standing and something that we cannot have, will not have to come back and revisit in a few years because of just the things that have changed. Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Moves us to administration.
Yeah, just really quick. Yes, I do agree with this gentleman regarding taking your time to come up with something really well thought out and well planned. But just let me remind you again, since the 1850s, what has happened to us is now coming to fruition. And so that has been close to 170 years. So we have to be real careful about how we treat the future too. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Administration, we have updates on bond projects. Mr. Peru, can you join us? Mr. Peru?
Yes, sir. Just wanted to give a few updates. I wanted to let everybody know that we have now finished and completed the bathrooms at the high school. I'd like the board to, hopefully they have an opportunity, they can come by and see it, and can see how we're heating it and how we're going to be doing things like when we get into the cold weather. But then at the same time, that some of the things that we put in it, it came out actually really nice. So I'd like to extend an invitation for the board to come by, and even the community members to come by and look at it once we are able to open it up to the public. Also, there's some updates on the portable at Hurley. We've completed all the plumbing, the water, the sewer. We had to do a change order due to reference to when we moved it from Bayard Elementary to when it was considered it was originally the Head Start building that we had loaned out to the Head Start. And when we moved it, there was some damage done to the inside. So we're getting the inside fixed. I mean, we're getting all the new cabins and stuff, but there was also some damage done to the sewer underneath and the plumbing. We don't know when that actually took place, but it was yanked. And so a lot of it was broken. So we had to readjust everything from the inside of it to where everything hooked up on the outside. So we just finished that. And like I said, we're waiting. We're going to be getting some POs. The ramps will be going into place already. We have that PO. We'll be getting the PO set up so we can get the skirting and the painting done. And then we should be complete with that one so that they can utilize it. From what I understand, Ms. Martinez is going to be utilizing it as a art and music room. So hopefully we can have that ready to go when the students do have the ability to be able to come back to school. On the updates, that's what I have for right now. I'll yield it to Mr. Mendoza if he has anything else. But that's where we're at with the projects that we currently have finishing up and getting going.
Thank you, Mr. Peru.
Thank you, Mr. Peru.
No problem.
I'd like to go up to the superintendent's report now, and what I have there is the staff teaching remote. I know Mr. Carrillo covered it, and I know a couple of schools have 100% at this point, but it's about 70%. So I know you spent time on it, Mr. Jose Carrillo. Okay, at this time, Melissa, are you on? Melissa?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Melissa, can you address the at-risk and ancillary staff in terms of when we might start with the 1-to-5 ratio or the 1-to-1 ratio of bringing the kids into school? And of course, George won't be able to talk about how we're going to transport them until we know who the students will be. Melissa?
Right. Yes, I can. So, Mr. President, members of the board, currently we are working as a special education staff and teaching staff to prioritize learning for small groups of children. On Friday, I joined a webinar with Walsh Gallegos to get further guidance on our students with disabilities and how to prioritize learning and bring them back in a safe manner. Under their direction and guidance, and I shared that with some of our case managers today, and they're all on the right track, is they're making phone calls to parents, reviewing IEPs, gathering pre-COVID baseline data, sending out some learning packets for this week and next week, and they're going to reevaluate that data and determine the loss of skill, what skills, what IEP goals they have mastered or have not mastered due to COVID, and then prioritize those groups coming in. The guidance was further reiterated that we stick to the 5-to-1 ratio. Multiple adults can see the children, but not at one time. So the most we can have is 5 kids, 1 adult. If a service provider has to come in, the teacher or case manager would have to leave the room and that service provider come in and continue the group. So once we have a better idea of the numbers, I think, for example, at Bayard, I met with them this morning and I think they had about 8 kids that they were looking at and going to collect data on and try to see if we could get those kids in. So it should be small numbers. Again, the state emphasized that right now in the red phase, it's the kids with the most critical need, the kids that maybe are not accessing things remotely and not proceeding with their packets and engaging in learning. And so that's how we're prioritizing learning. So I would say, Mr. Mendoza, and the board, that in the next couple of weeks, we'll be devising a plan for transportation. That's how we're gonna get these kids in. For the most part, I think parents have been willing to work with us and have volunteered to say, hey, if you have my student there for 2 hours, I'd be willing to take them in. So again, that's not a requirement, but that will help us come up with a plan on how to transport the children safely and provide the one-to-one instruction that they need, or small group instruction.
Members of the board, any question on Melissa, please?
Thank
Okay,
you.
if not, that is my report.
Okay. This time we move to public input. Yeah, this time we move to public input. Anything from the public?
Yeah, Toy, I just want to thank you guys for hearing me and Joe out and listening to our feedback and taking our letters, and appreciate the board's vote on this, and Mr. Avalos and Dr. Mendoza and Mr. Peru's helping with that. And then, of course, impressed with Miss Montoya and touching base with Mr. Begay, who's a very good friend of mine. So we thank you for being open and taking our feedback. Thank you guys so much. Creator bless. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, Francis.
Thanks for your input.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez and everyone.
Items for next agenda.
Mr. President and members of the board, as a superintendent, I'd like to, and this will be, I need permission from the board to pursue this. We're about 2 weeks away from after Labor Day, correct? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But at that point, we're going to have, I'm sorry, 3 weeks. They're telling me we're about 3 weeks, but still I'm concerned with that we're having to bring our pre-K through 5 full time. I hear the expressions and concerns from all our staff at that level. So I think we need to put this an agenda item in which we may want to consider Cobre as extending our long or distance learning with the teachers and everyone teaching from home, a possibility of if it's only 30 days that the state would grant us, at least we go till October 1. But ultimately, I want us to discuss going all the way to January 1, and knowing that as a board, you have the power, so to speak, to put this into action. But I can do some calling in the meantime and know it. The Albuquerque Public Schools, I know sometime this week, is taking this action on whether they should continue their distance learning for the rest of the semester. I know Las Cruces is doing it, and not because those districts are doing it, I'm doing it here and recommending, because I'm of the philosophy that one child getting sick, one teacher getting sick, one adult getting sick is one too many. So without any board members disagreeing with this or want to tell me yes or no, I'd like to put this for discussion and possible board action.
Lordsburg has also gone that way. They've also gone all the way to January already. They've made the decision already. Anything else?
I support that discussion and that vote. I think it's an excellent direction for us to consider.
Mr. Guardiana, mine is this, let's go all the way to January, you know, and I hate, because I'm having to interview one-on-one each of our staff members that sits there and just tells them, they just tell me their life story. It hits you in the heart because they're worried about their kids at home, their parents at home, and some of them have grandpas and grandmas, okay? All right, so I think it's in the best interest that we look at that and see what we can do. So Irene, don't you dare forget to put that on the agenda, okay? And then we'll see what we can go. In the meantime, we can have Mr. Sepulveda. You have connections with Joe Guillen and the National School Board. I'll talk to the Superintendent's Association as well as the Secretary of Education. We listen to them every Thursday, and we'll go there. So, board members, thank you for listening. But I think it's.
I've got a meeting with Joe. I got a meeting with Joe and the board of directors on Thursday, so I'll mention it.
I would also recommend that Mr. Mendoza seek counsel on this as well, as far as our authority.
Yes, sir, I will. I will.
I talked yesterday with Mr. Morales, Lieutenant Governor, and he told me that the board has that authority, is what he told me. And that he would back us up all the way if we whatever decision we made there.
That's awesome.
But if I may, I'm going back to superintendent's report or whatever. We'll call it public input. But I have a lot of concern with a lot of our individuals, community members, and everybody is. I'll be at a gas station here trying to put in some gas, and boom, those cars just pull up. And please, 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 don't make me send my child to school, okay? And you know what? I'll be honest with you. I'm a proud dad of 3 grown boys right now. They're men now. But I look back when they were in the elementaries. There's no way I could send my child to school at this point. And
Mr. Mendoza and members of the board, by the next board meeting, we can also have numbers of how many parents are considering the fully online, because that too would have a big impact. If we have a huge percentage of our parents wanting to do fully online, then this would really make sense. So we can bring those numbers to the next board meeting as well.
Well, I understood there was 171, 140, no, Joyce?
Mr. Mendoza, I barely got access to Power School again today, so I haven't been able to look up that number yet.
You must have been working from home today, no?
I've been trying to get Power School access for a while. I got it today.
Anything
That
else?
concludes my presentation. No, I have no.
Anything else? Well, I just want to say thank you, Pat, and for all your information and good luck with this thing that's going to go on. And thank you all for all the hard work that everybody's doing. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
I don't think you have
Motion to
anybody
adjourn.
for. All right.
I'll move. This is Gilbert. I'll move in. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Y'all have a good evening.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Mr. Guadiana.
Yes. Hello?